Hi, so Mike Galsworthy, Director of Scientists for EU, NHS for a People's Vote, and also head up a social media unit which is studying all of these Brexit dynamics.
Wow, it's lovely to meet you. I'm Doire, so I am one of the co-founders of Our Future, Our Choice Northern Ireland, which is a youth campaign group who have been battling for a People's Vote.
Yep. I remember seeing the first video that you guys did, and when you did that I was really relieved because I thought there was nothing coming out of Northern Ireland then apart from Arlene Foster and then a gang of nuts, and we were thinking, where's the campaigning group there? There's that great Twitter account, the Irish Border, which was hilarious, and there was border communities against Brexit, but then it didn't really feel like there were many people sort of on the ground and activating at least the youth to get out there. Then you guys popped up, and so I remember when you did, and it's good that you keep going. And
oh, definitely. I mean, we started last August, so that was 5 young people came together from Belfast to the border in Northern Ireland.
Who started it?
It was all of us kind of just met across Northern Ireland, and we were brought together. We obviously have worked with Our Future, Our Choice in the UK, and then there was... Did
you get in touch with them, or did they get in touch with you, or how did you find each other?
In touch with us, and it was actually some of the guys met in Belfast, and then I was brought in because I lived on the border, and we met another guy from Fermanagh, and when we all met in Belfast on the first day, it was like we were all a little family, and we were all so passionate for different reasons about why this was so important for Northern Ireland. So it was a really nice thing for us to do, and it's been such a success really since.
So it's really grown.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
and so is it grown sort of culturally and generally, or particularly amongst the youth, or I mean, what's the real engine of pro-EU sentiment in Northern Ireland now? Who's really driving it, and who's picking it up the most?
I think probably it's a mix of everybody. I think a lot of young people now realise how much we get from the European Union, and that maybe wasn't something that we were as aware of, but I think now a lot of young people, particularly with our peace funding in Northern Ireland, and that is on so many cross-community youth groups, which some of our co-founders are a part of, and they looked at that and said, this has helped us grow and flourish in a future that, you know, we deserve and that was promised to us with the Good Friday Agreement, and that's why it's so important to
So they
young
actually see the EU as part of a package with the Good Friday Agreement, which was kind of like, it was divisive and nasty and strained before, but then these agreements got done which were the foundation for our freedoms and our expansive capacity now, and those could go together, and so then you need to fight back for it.
Definitely.
And I guess if you don't actually have a proper parliament at the moment, then there's a case of just wanting to take it into your own hands.
Well, it's been 2.5 years now, and there are talks that are ongoing, so fingers crossed we will get some movement with those, but I think any young people that I've spoken to, and we visited schools all across Northern Ireland, the massive issue there is that there's a huge democratic deficit, and we feel voiceless. In Westminster we have 10 DUP MPs who don't necessarily represent the views of all of us, then we have Sinn Féin who don't take their seats, and only one independent MP, so we really are voiceless in a lot of ways, and I think a lot of young people have stood up and said, well, we want to have our voices heard and we deserve to.
So what are people thinking about the DUP now? Has there been a shift in their popularity? I mean, are they under pressure themselves from...
I mean, the DUP are the biggest party in Northern Ireland, and I think that is something in elections that you see they are consistently strong, but I think a lot of young people are now saying that they maybe don't want to go down the route of Brexit, and even businesses in Northern Ireland are saying that a no-deal Brexit doesn't work, so it's completely counterintuitive with the DUP, and particularly Sammy Wilson saying things like no deal is the best way out. Businesses and young people and everybody in Northern Ireland is saying we have the most to lose with a no deal, so we definitely don't want that.
Exactly, you're really on the front line. And I mean, I find it really interesting. Has it changed identity politics in Ireland? Because I mean, there's obviously long-standing hardcore identity politics that were there before, but then I was hearing that even some proper unionists of the younger generation were starting to pick up Irish passports because they could, and people are just viewing all of that sort of differently as well.
Yeah, I think it's obviously brought up the question of identity, and I think there's been a lot of talk around the border poll, and we are a cross-community group in Northern Ireland made up of nationalists and unionists, and I think
that's kind of lovely in its own way that you've got something new to have common cause and common bond on, whereas Good Friday Agreement you all appreciate, but you thought that was done and dusted, but now here's a new threat which gets you actually meshing together in a real live way.
Yeah, well, there's everything in Northern Ireland is either green or orange, and when we all came together we said Brexit is not green or orange, it's not going to distinguish between nationalist and unionist, it's going to cause us all massive amounts of damage, which is why it is so important that all of the communities come together. And I think that is a lovely thing that Brexit has brought people together to fight against it.
So I mean, it's an interesting contrast to some of the narrative you hear about Northern Ireland, that, you know, if you get this, then it will all fall apart and be fighting again. If it goes this way, then, and you know, and they can't sort things out in the Parliament. So usually out of like stress and chaos, you know, beautiful things always happen. And so if you've got new community bonding and weaving on the basis of a new generation coming together regardless of background and finding a new voice together in order to sort things out, then that's a sort of almost a regeneration in itself. Yeah,
it's been lovely. I mean, I love Northern Ireland, and I think it gets an awful lot of bad press as being you know, a certain way, but everybody there
because is so the pictures that get into press about it are kind of like, if anything flares up because people are chucking petrol bombs at police cars, and this is what Northern Ireland is, and compare this to the historical pictures. So sets a new narrative. Sets a new tone.
People are outward looking, and they're fun, and they're happy, and they want a future that is prosperous, and they don't want to have to leave Northern Ireland. I mean, it's a beautiful place to live, and it has so much potential after all of the bad that it had in its past, which is why we're all so passionate about it.
And are people more aware now of kind of like the EU support that has actually gone into the building of Northern Ireland over the years, when the British government hadn't really, because it's one of those areas that did get classified as kind of like, I don't want to say deprived, but kind of like less wealthy, less developed, and so it gets the big regional funds. I mean, I know of particular scientific and technological endeavours that have had big chunks of money from the EU as well, and so are now developing really high-tech, I think, pacemakers and defibrillator stuff, and there's a big boom that came out of Northern Ireland, actually in collaboration with some.
Well, there was a lot. I think obviously with the Troubles, Northern Ireland had a lot of damage done to it, and it was a lot of rebuilding. And I think that
physical infrastructure rebuilding in order to make it look better and pile in new hope.
And it was necessary, you know. And without that, and without the funding from the European Union and you know, all of the peace projects that they've built, and I was even saying to one of my friends, when you look at the buses in Northern Ireland, they're all funded by the European Union. Our new glider system in Belfast funded by the European Union. Universities, parks, there's so many things that the European Union funding has given to us, and that's why it is so important for all of us to recognise, and I think a lot more people do now, that how important the European Union is.
And I'm guessing it's given people a new sort of like appetite and demand for kind of like, we want MPs in the British Parliament and we want MEPs in the European Parliament, because we're sick and tired of being sort of like on the fringe, not talked about. But now, because we're crux to it all, we do need a voice, and we need our own Parliament, and we need strong representation in the British Parliament, and then also in the European Parliament. Is there a kind of like a push for all of that?
Yeah, well, that's what our campaign is about. So basically we've taken this to MEPs all across Northern Ireland, and we're meeting with MPs in Westminster today, and I think who are your MEPs at the moment? So we have Martina Anderson, who is from Sinn Féin, Diane Dodds, and then Jim Nicholson. So really at the
Are they any good?
Do you know what, they are actually, and they do an awful lot of work. Obviously the DUP isn't pro-Europe anymore, which is a real struggle, but you know.
Did they used to be? Right,
I mean, they do good work in Europe, and I think that they do stand up, but there are parties that are more pro-European, and there's now a third seat that's up for grabs in terms of Jim Nicholson isn't standing again, so there's a seat, and I think there's a massive push in Northern Ireland to make sure that that is a pro-EU seat, and that's taken by a pro-EU candidate, because we need to point out Northern Ireland did vote to remain, and that is something that is true, and we want that to be represented in our representatives.
And that's probably swung more to remain now, hasn't it? Because I mean, because like with the nurses and the doctors, anyone who's on the front line of taking the hit, that's where you've seen some of the bigger swings.
Exactly,
so,
definitely.
Cool. Well, lovely meeting you.
Definitely.
And enjoy your time here, and have a good journey back and all of that.
It's sunny, so how could I not love it?
I know, and also, you know, join the circus here. You know, and isn't it weird to see some of the like fiery pro-EU people, and then the fiery Brexiteers? They're kind of like standing next to each other. Sometimes have jokes and chats with each other as well. So actually, the vibe is quite good. It's not that violent and aggressive. It's not like the right-wing nuts that are threatening some of our MPs. No. Those that are prepared to get out and about can have pseudo-civilized debate, well, at least humorous debate. And it feels like a circus. It's absolutely a sort of weird, unique time in our history, and it's weird to be in the middle of it, isn't it?
It's an experience. That's something anyway.
Yeah.